The medieval wood kilning method that built cathedrals, ships and empires and still outperforms modern lumber. The fastest way to destroy wood has always been impatience. Medieval builders learned that the hard way, and what they developed in response is one of the most quietly effective technologies ever used in construction. No electricity, no gauges, no moisture meters, just control, discipline, and time. And it worked so well that structures made with this method outlasted plagues, wars, climate shifts, and even World War II bombing campaigns. This isn't nostalgia. This is engineering memory. And once you understand it, you'll never look at modern lumber the same way again. Moisture was the real enemy, not time or insects. Every failure in timber starts the same way. Trapped water. Rot doesn't begin with fungus. It begins with moisture that never truly leaves. Warping isn't random. It's uneven, drying under stress. Insects don't attack strong, dry wood. They move into timber that's already compromised. Medieval craftsmen understood this at a cellular level long before anyone could explain it scientifically. They just knew, you see, that air drying alone was unreliable in damp climates. And, well, they also realized that rushing the process shattered internal fibers. And they knew that once a beam was locked into a cathedral roof or a ship's frame, replacement was often impossible. There were no forklifts waiting, no spare lumber yards. Failure wasn't an inconvenience. It was permanent. So they engineered a solution that removed moisture deeply and evenly, without shocking the wood or destroying its structure. That solution was low-temperature wood kilning, and it was nothing like the industrial kilns we know today. In the medieval world, timber wasn't cheap. A single oak beam could represent weeks of coordinated labour. Felling, trimming, hauling, seasoning and shaping all happened by hand. If a beam twisted after installation, the structure twisted with it. And, you know, if rot appeared 10 years later, it spread invisibly until collapse followed. Builders needed wood that behaved predictably under load and across seasons. They needed beams that didn't move when winter froze the walls and summer swelled them again. This wasn't about speed, it was about certainty. That demand for certainty shaped everything about medieval kilning. These kilns were designed to breathe, not to blast. Modern industrial kilns are sealed chambers designed for speed. Heat is aggressive. Moisture is forced out. The exterior dries first, often too fast, trapping water inside. This creates internal stress, microscopic fractures, and what's known today as case hardening. Medieval kilns avoided this entirely. They were slow, breathable structures built into earth banks, or, you know, sometimes partially underground. Stone and clay walls held gentle warmth while buffering humidity. The firebox was small and indirect, never actually touching the wood. Warm air moved upward through the stacked timbers and escaped through adjustable vents. Nothing was sealed, nothing was rushed. The goal wasn't to cook the wood, it was really to convince moisture to leave on its own. Low heat was not a limitation, it was the secret. Temperatures inside these kilns rarely exceeded what we'd call a mild summer day. That wasn't a technological constraint, it was intentional. Medieval kiln operators understood something many modern systems ignore. Heat can destroy wood as easily as moisture can. Small, steady fires, fueled by charcoal or peat, provided consistent warmth without spikes. This slow heat allowed internal moisture to migrate outward gradually. Fibres relaxed instead of tearing. Grain stayed aligned. Resins remained intact. Kilning could take weeks, sometimes longer. But when the wood came out, it behaved as if it had aged naturally for years. Wood was never kiln-dried straight from the tree. Fresh-cut timber was first allowed to season briefly in shaded airflow. This released surface moisture without exposing the wood to sun or wind shock. Bark was often partially removed, not stripped completely, but opened enough to discourage insects while slowing moisture loss. Logs were cut oversized, anticipating shrinkage that would occur naturally during drying. Only then were timbers stacked inside the kiln, with spaces between each beam. These gaps mattered. They allowed warm air to reach every surface evenly. Uneven airflow meant uneven drying, and uneven drying meant failure. Nothing about this was casual. Every step existed because someone had already paid the price for skipping it. Airflow was controlled through vents and flues with obsessive care. Too much draft dried the exterior too fast. Too little encouraged mould. Medieval operators adjusted airflow constantly based on weather, fuel behaviour, and the wood itself. This wasn't guesswork, it was pattern recognition built from generations of repetition. The process was refined because, well, failure was expensive and honestly unforgettable. Knowing when the wood was ready required trained senses. There were no instruments, no charts. But, you know, the results were repeatable. Finished wood sounded sharper when struck. It felt lighter, but not brittle. Shavings curled cleanly under a blade instead of tearing. Most importantly, the wood stopped moving after removal. Beams that twisted or checked were rejected for structural use and, well, diverted to lesser roles. The best timber was marked and reserved. Builders knew exactly which beams could be trusted with lives and, honestly, which could not. This method denied rot and insects at the root. Fungi need moisture, you know, and insects, well, they need softness. Medieval kilning removed both conditions slowly and thoroughly. In resinous woods like pine and fir, the process crystallized internal resins, creating natural resistance to decay and pests. This is why, you know, medieval roof trusses, ship frames and bridges often survive for centuries in damp environments where, well, modern lumber tends to fail in just a few decades. This wasn't just luck. It was, honestly, moisture control executed with a great deal of restraint. Why this knowledge faded, and really why that matters now. Industrial kilns didn't replace medieval kilning because they were better. They replaced it because, well, they were faster. Commercial demand, you see, favoured speed over longevity. Wood became a commodity, not a commitment, really. The old method required attention, experience and time. All three became liabilities in an industrial economy. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Many modern structures won't last even a fraction of the time medieval ones did. We traded patience for throughput, and the wood remembers. How survivalists and builders can apply this today? This technique isn't locked in the past. It's, well, surprisingly accessible. A simple shed with adjustable vents can replicate the airflow. A small external stove can provide gentle indirect heat. Earth berms, stone walls, or even thick soil banks help regulate temperature and humidity naturally. Stack wood with spacers. Keep heat low and steady. Let moisture migrate instead of forcing it out. Yes, monitor the wood with your senses. Listen to it carefully. Cut it, and then watch how it behaves after removal. Allow the wood to rest after drying. This final stabilization period, well, it truly matters. It's where internal tensions resolve, you see. This approach is, well, ideal for cabin beams, tool handles, bows, furniture, and really any application where strength and stability matter more than speed. It's especially valuable off-grid, you know, where replacement isn't easy and failure is honestly pretty costly. This isn't about romanticizing the past. Medieval builders weren't mystics. They were problem solvers operating under pressure. They trusted this process because it worked consistently. The structures they left behind are not accidents. They are proof. You know, understanding medieval wood kilning isn't about nostalgia. It's really about reclaiming knowledge that solved real problems with precision and restraint. In a world increasingly concerned with resilience and sustainability, this old method offers something modern systems often fail to deliver. Wood that behaves predictably for decades. If this breakdown added something real to your understanding of historical craftsmanship and practical survival knowledge, do consider supporting the work by subscribing, sharing this episode, and keeping Old World Prep alive. This channel exists to preserve hard-earned knowledge before it disappears again.